Hello and welcome to Eye on Africa with me, Thomas Waterhouse. These are the top stories from across the continent. The Ugandan child soldier-turned-warlord Dominic Ongwen pleads not guilty as his trial gets underway at the ICC. Prosecutors say he was responsible for orchestrating murder, rape, abduction and forced marriage. The eve of Ghana's presidential and parliamentary elections is marred by violence. One opposition supporter is killed and several others injured. 7 candidates are vying for the top job, with incumbent leader John Mahama facing a strong challenge from his rival Nana Akufo-Addo. And we'll bring you more on one Nigerian businesswoman's bid to spice up kitchens across the country with her time-saving, ready-made cooking sauce. But first, I'm not guilty and I'm a victim. That was the crux of Dominic Ongwen's argument to judges as his trial got underway at the International Criminal Court this Tuesday. The 41-year-old former commander of the Ugandan Lord's Resistance Army faces 70 counts of war crimes and crimes against humanity. It's claimed he ordered and assisted in the murder, rape and enslavement of thousands at camps for the internally displaced in the north of the country. Ongwen, who was kidnapped by the Resistance Army as a child, says he's among those victims and suffered similar atrocities. This is what his defense lawyer has had to say.
Ongwen, as a child, was abducted against his will. He was kept in the bush for 26 years. All the time, we have evidence that he tried to escape. So, from that perspective alone, you know that he was actually a victim, just like many children of Uganda were victimized by being abducted and getting involved in a war that they never understood.
Well, 4,000 victims are taking part in the trial and thousands of Ugandans are following proceedings on television. On Monday, the court was shown video evidence which the chief prosecutor described as extremely disturbing. In the country's northern communities, people are happy to see Ongwen in the dock. Grain Harrington and Tice Brook have sent this report from there.
Dennis has waited many years for this day. He's getting ready to see Dominic Ongwen stand trial. Like Ongwen, Dennis was abducted by the LRA when he was 10 years old. He remembers the long, forced marches through the bush and the days he went hungry. Later, he became a rebel soldier. He's still scarred by the battles he fought.
A lot of people died, a lot. After we evacuated, we were forced to come back to carry the ones who were injured. That wasn't easy. It's something you can never forget.
Ongwen had already risen to become an LRA leader at the time. Dennis remembers the cruelty of the man they called the White Ant.
If you try to escape and they take you back, he used to tell them to kill you. Because people knew too many things. They want to make an example.
After being held for 5 years by the rebels, he finally escaped. Like other victims, he was granted an amnesty when he returned home. Today, he's going to Gulu to see the trial broadcast live by the ICC. Hundreds of others are attending.
The people have been waiting for this moment for very, very many years. And so it is very close to their heart that this, first of all, happens. And their participation, their following, gives them the confidence that what has happened to them has exactly not been forgotten.
The victims here, including Dennis, have high expectations of this trial.
I want to know if justice really exists, and afterwards if this trial is going to affect the families of those abducted. What happened in the past should never happen again.
Those who still suffer the consequences of his crimes may have to wait years before knowing whether Ongwen will be convicted.
The ballot boxes are being dusted down across Ghana ahead of this Wednesday's parliamentary and presidential elections. There are 7 candidates to choose from, but the incumbent leader John Mahama and the opposition favourite Nana Akufo-Addo are leading the pack. The campaigning's been focused on how to kickstart the country's faltering economy, as well as stamp out corruption. But the run-up to the vote has been marred by violence. Police say an opposition supporter was killed and 6 people remain in a critical condition in hospital following clashes at a campaign rally on Monday. Our West Africa correspondent Katerina Vitozzi has more.
I'm standing in the headquarters of Ghana's Coalition of Domestic Election Observers, and it's here that on Wednesday results and observations from 8,000 election observers in 1,500 polling stations across the country will be sent via text message, collated and analysed. And they'll be looking at things such as, is the vote going well? Are polling stations open and functioning, and are voters turning up? But they'll also be looking at the vote count itself. Observers will be sending in results as they see them happening to lend credibility to the official result count which will be taken by the Election Commission. And in Ghana that's very important because in 2012 the vote count was hotly contested by the political parties. A little earlier I spoke to the co-chair of this group and asked her why it was particularly important that Ghanaians knew that the election result was the right one.
We are domestic election observers, not for political parties, not for the Electoral Commission, whom we collaborate with, but for the people of Ghana. We want the people of Ghana to be assured as to whether the elections were credible or not. And if the elections are not credible, we will come out and say so.
Nearly 16 million Ghanaians are registered to vote in Wednesday's election. They'll have a choice of 7 candidates, amongst those the incumbent President John Mahama and his main political rival Nana Akufo-Addo from the MPP party, who will be running in his 3rd successive presidential race.
Katerina Vitozzi reporting there. Moving on, healthcare in Kenya has once again been massively affected as a strike by medical staff entered a 2nd day this Tuesday. The deaths of 6 patients at 3 different hospitals nationwide have been attributed to that walkout, and local media have reported instances of burns victims and pregnant women being left stranded outside clinics. Unions are demanding a 300% pay rise for doctors and a rise of between 25% and 40% for nurses. In a statement made this Tuesday, the government says it's, quote, deeply regretful of the strike and values the country's medical personnel. Well, from striking medical staff to striking education staff, many classrooms in English-speaking parts of Cameroon continue to lay silent and empty. That's because of ongoing industrial action by teachers. They say the government is trying to marginalise them by imposing the French language in their schools. Anglophone students also say they're worried that they won't be able to find work once they graduate, adding that they feel excluded from applying for state jobs because of their language skills. Lawyers in English-speaking parts of the country have also gone on strike. This is what the government has had to say about the walkout and the recent violence that it sparked.
We've got to respect the form of the state as defined by the Constitution. That means a decentralized, unitary state with 10 regions. If there are any grievances, they have to be discussed and solved. You don't go to trying to change the form of the state through violence.
And finally, something for those Nigerians who put in long hours but still want to come home and eat something quick, tasty and wholesome. One businesswoman has had the brainwave of cooking up a popular traditional sauce made from peppers, onions and tomatoes and putting it in packet form. Kasope Lapido's mix is now available to buy in 36 stores nationwide. Laurent Berstecker has this to tickle your taste buds.
Like many Nigerians, Kasope Lapido used to spend hours a day preparing meals for herself and her family. But while traveling abroad, she saw shops selling pre-packaged ingredients, a revelation for the young entrepreneur.
I realized that the main reason why Nigerian products were not abroad was because we don't get our packaging right, one, and we don't follow procedures. And so research started on how we can do this. I mean, we want to put Nigerian food on the global market.
Tomatoes, onions and peppers, these traditional Nigerian ingredients are blended together, packaged and sold as a frozen sauce. The product is used in soups, relish or stews, and it's already a hit with customers.
The fact that it's been processed, boiled, all I just need to do is put it into the pot, had my seasoning, had the meat and all other things that I need to put in the pot. It's just awesome, it's good. It's a very good product to use.
Business has been booming for Lapido. Since its launch in 2012, production of the sauce mix went up from 100 to 16,000 packs a month. Yet the entrepreneur says she still faces structural challenges to develop her product.
The laws are not friendly towards startups. So the things that I have to do to be able to get those regulations are more streamlined towards bigger companies.
Costing $3 a pack, the sauce mix is largely geared towards middle-class customers, as it's a luxury many Nigerians simply can't afford.
That's all from me for now. There's more world news and headlines coming up. Do stay with us here on France 24.